And when it comes to your spine and your health, there are so many things that can derail us. We want to kind of bring about this idea that our bodies can change, but we need to manufacture and help the strongest pharmacy on the planet, which is our brain. And we start that a lot of times with gratitude. We're really blessed because we have Lisa Wood here. Lisa Wood has been a long time, friend, colleague. Lisa has lots of credentials. She's a licensed art therapist, counselor. She's a wellness coach. But we're here to try to help retrain your brain, retrain your mind, and start thinking gratitudes. So Lisa's going to start that process with us and talking about what's a gratitude process or a gratitude practice. How do we start that, Lisa? What the heck is it?
Yeah.
Tell me it all.
Okay, so it can seem like a lot to start a gratitude practice because you think, what's the big deal? Gratitude, how can this impact my life? It is important. It's important from the standpoint that it will ground you in the moment and help you to just make the very most of present moment living. The important thing though, and we're kind of looking at 3 points here, so I'm going to look at them. We're going to understand what it is and it isn't. Those will be in a second. Strategies for how to put it into everyday life, and then determine which tools suit you guys the best as far as building that practice and doing it on a day-to-day basis. Gratitude is not what we own, what we know, the education we have. It's not about us being in a hierarchical position better than somebody else because we're more educated or we're richer or whatever. Really important that we take ourselves away from the idea that we're privileged to be gratitude because we have something more than somebody else. Nix that. Not true, okay? It's not the same as being thankful. So thankfulness is a simple gesture. Thank you, Dr. Nate, for inviting me tonight.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Okay? But it is more all-encompassing. It encompasses the fullness of life. And it's not the same with all cultures. So, for instance, like in the Inuit culture, Alaska, North America, they would show gratitude by going out, killing a whale for its blubber and sharing it with everybody in the community. That is gratitude practice in that culture. So a lot of cultures practice gratitude by offering of their abundance to each other. Not so much in America. We're more into kind of independent life. We focus more on what is gratitude to us, as individuals. So gratitude is, it's linked to our ability to experience happiness and well-being, to foster that mindfulness, and it's associated with the cultivation of virtues. So in the philosophy they called Stoicism many years ago, the Stoics were all about trying to present themselves in community as people who were well-controlled and intellectuals. So they developed this idea that we have to cultivate virtues. Virtues like love, kindness, things like that. Well, gratitude is a virtue that we're cultivating to make us more kind of pro-social in our communities and able to deal better with other people. And here's another thing. Gratitude is really something that if you've experienced any kind of trauma in your life, serious trauma, car accident, or worse, war, it can help us to come back to a place of strength and resilience in our day-to-day life by slowing us down, by looking for the good, by showing acts of kindness to other people. So it can heal trauma, which is really important. So gratitude, I'm going to read what it is. It's a practice of recognizing and appreciating the positive aspects of life, whether big or small, and acknowledging the people, experiences, or circumstances that bring value to our lives. So it shifts our focus on what we have, brings us into a relationship of connection, abundance, and well-being. So it's huge.
When I've been training with like life coaches and just helping my business and helping myself, one of the simplest practices of gratitude when it was being explained to me was like, hey, some people will say, well, like, there's just nothing to be thankful for. Like, I've got nothing. Like, my life, it's just in shambles. I can't think of anything to be happy about. So some of the simple stuff, when I said little things, he said, well, you got to start small. Like, I have a roof over my head. Maybe you do. I have a car or I have heat. When you said small, there might not be these big, amazing things you're thinking about, but starting small, I think, starts getting those little neurons firing and those chemicals possibly starting to change our neurology and our chemistry a little bit.
And especially, I think, to the point of people who have experienced any kind of a trauma, to Dr. Nate's point, if you've had any kind of emotional or mental health struggles in your life, for whatever reason, depression or whatever, sometimes going right to gratitude is not a good idea, because it basically is like, oh great, another thing on my list of things to do to try to make me happy, right? No, sometimes it's dealing with those traumas and some of those internal struggles first before we start to move into gratitude. So it's not for everybody initially. That's important to know.
Something that's a positive action may start to cause more stress or turmoil. And I guess it kind of gets into our science of thoughts a little bit, really.
It does.
So, you've got your conscious and your subconscious. The conscious mind is a wonderful servant, but a horrible master. Okay, so what that means is that if we use our thinking brains to try to solve all of our problems, if we try to think our way out of everything or just think of how to control this, how to control that, we're really just feeding the animal that caused maybe some of the stressors or dysfunction that we have. So your subconscious is really what we're trying to retrain, I guess, with this whole process. The subconscious thought level is where we're impacted by our upbringing. So some of your subconscious is already tuned by that little recorder you hit when you were a kiddo, your brain, that supercomputer, and just started to record and had to respond and react to what things were going on for survival purposes. So our upbringings, what we saw, our habits, habits we get into, we learn those a lot of times too. Personality, which is development, all that, and traumas, like you said, are huge aspects of our subconscious. I think the biggest thing to remember about our subconscious is that it runs at like 100,000 megabits per second. Like it is going so fast. So as soon as you see me, see my face, my facial expression, the way that I'm sitting or moving, you're already making assumptions and understanding what I'm feeling at a light speed before I've said anything that you've processed in that conscious brain, which is like a couple megabits per second, which is still really fast, but nowhere near as fast as our subconscious travels. So your subconscious is already putting out thoughts and what we'd say is vibrations around you, into you and through you and around you before you've really even thought about something. So this is why we want to think about this gratitude process. Thoughts are things. Oh, there we go. We've got that.
Which is what we just said. So the more you repeat an action, like today, you're going to repeat like 80% of what you did yesterday, unless you make a conscious effort to practice something slightly different. Be a little bit more growth-minded, what they call growth-minded, which means you're letting new things in. You decide tonight you're not going to sit in that same chair and watch those same TV programs, right? You're going to go in a different chair and read a book. You're going to go for a walk. You have to mix it up a little bit because our thoughts become things. They develop a strong bond in our brain that will direct then, like Dr. Nate said, energetically, we'll go in just the same direction. We're trying to mix that up a little bit. So the research very simply says that a gratitude practice increases feelings of energy, alertness, and enthusiasm. It helps us succeed in achieving our goals, to cope with stress, bolster feelings of self-worth and self-confidence, generosity and helpfulness, because we're thinking about we're going to pay for the guy in the McDonald's line behind us just because we want to, and it releases some dopamine and serotonin in our brains that make us happy, right? So why not? It improves our cardiac health. So being depressed, they have proven, can cause a heart attack. Have you heard the idea of what they call broken heart syndrome? It's a thing. People can get so sad and downcast that it impacts their heart. We want to fight against all that through a gratitude practice. And then a greater sense of purpose and resilience. So that's what the research has proven, that you'll sleep better, 25% better sleep at night, happier generally, you're more prone to exercise, 33% more prone to get up and go for a walk because you're happy about life. You know that life is a gift, right? So
I'm going to say the research and just chiropractic when it comes to mood and gratitude, they did a research study that found that people who were adjusted were actually produced more serotonin than those not adjusted. Our bodies functioning and aligned and moving properly stimulate the ability for your brain to be in a better place. And putting your brain in a better place stimulates you to use your body in the way God intended to it. So it's just interesting how these things, this is holistic. People come here and, hey doc, what's holistic? What do you mean holistic? I want the holistic thing. I think sometimes it's maybe some magic pill or potion that I have that's, but it means making the body whole. We all are striving to become whole, to be connected with our true selves in some way or another. And so we just want to kind of open your mind to realize that these thoughts are things. And if those thoughts are bombarding you constantly that you're not enough, that things are not going to be better, they're going to be worse, that, I'm going to be in pain and I'm never going to get better, your body will definitely prove that. I said, what the mind believes, the body achieves, right? We've all heard that, right? Your coach probably said that when you're trying to to get to the finish line or something. But this is life. It's true.
It's so true. No, perfect. So the tools for practicing begin by daily journaling. Journaling, again, it's about how we think about it. If we have a growth mindset, you sit down to a blank page and you just start random writing whatever comes to your mind. I'm hoping today's going to be a good day. Yesterday wasn't so much. I am going to apply whatever comes to your brain, begin to do 3 minutes of random journaling. And at the end of those 3 minutes, you say, I am grateful for, and name a few things. Okay, that's one way to start. Breath work. Dr. Nate is going to demonstrate some breathing, but what they say here is very simple. You inhale, you hold, and you say, I'm grateful for this breath, and you exhale. There's a lot of breath work.
Breath work to me is the more that I do it, the more that I see it. It is just, to me, it's putting a little bit of meditation on steroids, because I think you can get more connected with yourself in a shorter amount of time with more impact by connecting your brain and body together. And there's a lot of methods where you really hyperoxygenate yourself and you can get more and more air in, but then all of a sudden you kind of let it out or you just hold. Someone said this weekend on a training I was doing, that it's the space between the notes that makes the music. Otherwise, it's just noise.
Oh, I love that. That's true. Yeah.
In our busy daily lives, we don't slow down enough. There's too much noise to be grateful for the spaces that we're given, right? We need to make space. So breath work, can start to breathe us in and out. If we want, let's go through an exercise together. Let's just do it once or twice. I think we're going to start with we're just going to keep with our box breathing because it's one of the best. We're going to do it twice together. And then at the end of that, we're going to do something where we're going to hyperoxygenate for a couple breaths, which is a little different. And then we're going to just hold it out or in for a moment. Okay, so just follow my cues. We're going to do the box breath twice because this is a great little practice. And when you're in the pause of the box, we're going to kind of go up, we're going to hold, we're going to breathe out. And when we're breathed out all the way, that's when I want you to just think of that gratitude, okay? So the holds are usually about 4 or 5 seconds. So everyone just kind of sit up nice and straight. What I want to make sure is when you're sitting tall, you get more air in, all right? So what I want you to do is take a nice deep breath in through the nose. Do that for a count of 4. 3, 2, 1. Hold it. 4, 3, 2, 1. Let it go slow. 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold it out. Think of your gratitude. Picture it. Feel it. Does it have a smell? Now go ahead and breathe in slow again. Breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold. Just pause. And let it out slow. 4, 3, 2, 1. And be grateful. Think it. Feel it. Smell it. And let it out. Now, everyone relax. We're going to do one extra breath. This is what we call the belly, chest, head breath. Okay, you can do it. Let's do it all through the mouth. If you do all through mouth breathing, it actually gets you ready for exercise. It kind of gets you energized, all right? So you go belly, chest, head, out. Again, belly, out. Again. Just let it out quick. Good. Again. Out. Belly, chest, head, and out. One more time. Belly, chest, head, hold. Just feel the lightness. Feel the tingle. Be grateful you're alive, that you have blood, that you have life, things that can heal you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let it out. So those are just some breath work. If you're feeling like, oh my gosh, today is just, and you're probably getting in that posture, right? You're just, open it up. Open your palms. Everyone do it for a second. Open your palms up. They're facing the ceiling. Open that chest up and then look up at the ceiling. And just try to think something. It's probably hard. Positivity radiates from good posture. It is almost impossible to think negative when you are in this position, this power posture. So that can be another way to hold gratitude. All right, that's power posture.
Other tools, connection and sharing. So write a letter to somebody who's impacted your life in some positive way. That's one way you can do it. And then you need to practice, train, reflect. So all the things we're talking talking about. Gratitude is the ability to look first at what is good and working in our lives without minimizing or denying the hardships that are also present. So it's not pretending like nothing bad's ever happening. We want you to be living in the most authenticity you possibly can. And gratitude can help you do that. We want you to be authentically living every day.